So this week, President Trump made his second pick for appointment to the Supreme Court. Ron, there seems to be a great divide between Republicans and Democrats on this particular nominee. Not that that's unusual. What say you?
I'm looking at the benefit of the country. What's it going to be? The divide, a lot of divide is on Roe versus Wade and issues like that. My caution to the American people and to Congress, or to the Senate, is I don't want somebody that's being appointed that can be the judge and jury for the President of the United States if he's found in contempt, if he's found guilty, or if he's indicted and he's forced to go before the Mueller investigation. I think it's a travesty that we have reduced the Supreme Court justices. The other side continually has said Supreme Court should not make laws, they should enforce the Constitution.
I think both sides have said that.
Yes, well...
The only time they say it, though, is when they're not in power.
Well, guess what? Guess who's in power now?
Republicans.
Right.
And
so it's no more right today than it was 15 years ago. But I will say this. For 40 years, the other side had their Supreme Court justices, and now the new side's got theirs. Now, will this new Supreme Court justice, if he makes it, which I think there's going to be a humongous battle throughout this country before he's appointed, I hope the right thing is done by the Senate.
And what is the right thing in your opinion?
He's not the right person.
Okay. Henry, what say you?
Trump could have nominated a younger version of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and the left would still be up in arms. Regardless of what name Trump put forward, they're going to oppose it.
I'm not left.
I'm making a generalization, Ron.
Okay.
So.
But now, and I hear you, and I agree with you 100%, by the way, but wouldn't you agree that the opposite is true? I mean, if memory serves,
they sat on a nomination.
Had an opportunity to nominate, and we wouldn't even give the guy a hearing. The Republicans, true?
Because they were afraid of letting it out of committee and then having to go vote on it. And I agree, that was not the best action to take. But also,
it was a horrible action.
Also, we are now dealing with the Harry Reid rule of
51.
51
Right.
and not 60, which forces a consensus vote. Harry Reid did away with it. It was a mistake back then. I think it's a mistake that Mitch McConnell adopted today.
And we work on precedent, and by the end of this, and whenever this is, we're not going to have any viable rules because it's just going to be, I don't know what it's going to be, but it's not going to be pretty. Would you agree with that, Ron? That, you know, the Democrats put in stuff that favors them at the time. The Republicans put in stuff that favors them at the time. Then when the other side gets in power, it's like, oh, you can't hold me to this rule. That's not fair.
Well, the Democrats, in my opinion, made some strategically terrible mistakes and errors, and they haven't corrected it. But on the other side of the aisle, they haven't done anything to improve anything.
But back on the Kavanaugh, I think he is a competent jurist. I think
after his writings, how can you say that?
I think he is.
What writings do you? And I want to hear your point, but
well, I want him to keep.
But
on.
no, tell me what specific writing do you have an issue with?
Where he don't think the President of the United States ought to be indicted or have any problems before the courts unless he's what? Unless he is
high crimes and misdemeanors?
No, not just crimes and misdemeanors, but unless he's, you know, falls under being impeached, and then the impeachment is carried out by the Senate, he doesn't think anything until that point should be done. But they're going to have to make decisions. Look at the decisions in the Bush-Al Gore political race. The Supreme Court justices picked the President of the United States.
No, the voters of Florida did.
No, they didn't.
They did. It was based off of whether it was a valid ballot or not.
Yeah, hanging chair.
It was a decision of the Supreme Court after everything was appealed, but they didn't determine the president. It was the Electoral College that did.
That's
the Constitution.
That's
in
because
that particular case, I would argue that they interpreted, which I think is
yes, they did. That is their role.
Their role. They interpreted that Florida said, we believe this is the case, and the Supreme Court said yes. It's a shame, in my view, that it ever got to that. And in the technology that we lived in back even in 2000, in the 2000 early era of this century, we shouldn't have had to deal
I'd
with
rather
that.
had the hanging chance than what the Russians did in the last election to the United
Oh
States.
my gosh,
You
Ron!
don't know
You
what
keep
the
banging
Russians
that
did in
drum.
the last election. So let's talk about votes. Do we think the Republicans? So the best case scenario for the Republicans at this point, assuming that John McCain is not going to be available to vote, I think that's a fair assumption given
Yes.
his health status at this point, is 50-50. Do we think the Republicans will hold the party line on this particular candidate?
I think the Republicans currently have 49 confirmed votes, or not 49, 46 confirmed votes. They are at risk of losing either Rand Paul and Ted Cruz, or losing the senators from Maine and Alaska. Do you not agree, Ron?
Totally.
Okay.
But they're going to pick
If
up
they,
Manchin.
if they appeal to one side, they're going to potentially lose the other. Now, how strong of a leader is Mitch McConnell to get those 4 votes in? That's where we're really talking about right now. There's not going to be the benefit of having Mike Pence come in and break a tie because John McCain's not there.
Well, it may be if it's 50-50, whether that
Well,
50
it would be
is
50-49 because you're going to be short one
Well,
senator.
maybe
and vote.
maybe they'll bring John McCain in.
Don't know, but
Well, we don't know.
I mean, I just wish the best for John McCain and his family. Being there to vote for the new Supreme Court justice is not the
But
priority.
you agree this is one of the most important votes for the Supreme Court justice? in history?
I believe that if Kavanaugh is confirmed, he will be slightly, and I say slightly, to the right of where Kennedy's position is. And that's why it is probably more beneficial to consider a candidate like Kavanaugh than some of the other names that were on Donald Trump's short list. So this is a more moderate candidate than what Donald Trump probably would have preferred to put forward.
A more moderate candidate.
Yes.
I thought
So
he
you
was
think-
more to the right candidate.
Yeah, I would have thought that too,
Yeah.
Ron.
There are people who were on the short list that were more to the right than what Kavanaugh is. And history has taught us that even though they have portrayed themselves as conservatives, many that have been put into place, Kennedy is a good example, start to veer to the center as they get more experience and tenure on the court.
So let's talk about on the Democratic side. You mentioned Joe Manchin as a possible turnover vote for this candidate. Do you see others potentially?
I think there's 3, and then some states. It all depends that they have to have that base of vote, that more center vote. They can't vote what they want to vote
Ron.
because they'll be turned against them.
What do you think about, I think it was Dick Durbin who basically said, listen, risk losing your election and side with the Democrats on this. Like Joe Manchin is, if he goes against this, it could cost him the race in West Virginia.
Yeah, I'm not sure it would.
I don't know if it's that, I'm not sure if it's that
I'm not
much
sure
of a,
West Virginia is that blue.
they say, oh, well,
It's not a blue. West Virginia is highly red.
Well, but they are, well, okay.
It's highly red.
Okay.
But the argument is, well, Trump won by 25 points in West Virginia. Well, Hillary basically said, I don't care anything about the coal industry, and you should disappear from the place of the earth, the face of the earth. That's why Donald Trump won by that many points in West Virginia. It should have been a closer race if she wouldn't have tried to destroy an entire way of living in West Virginia.
But you would agree that there needs to do modern technology and new jobs going in to give the miners and people in West Virginia.
I think we need to have opportunities for every community.
And I don't think West Virginia's getting their fair shake. I really think the economic development part of this country should find new innovative
But
ways
as far as
employment.
as far as the candidate with Kavanaugh, I think Manchin probably is likely going to wind up going on the Republican side. I don't think there's enough pressure that they can exert on him to.
How much
oppose him.
dirt do you think is going to come out between now and then that we have no clue about?
Right now, he sounds like he's a choir boy.
Yeah, but that'll change.
Okay,
That will change.
We're going
And
to
it
find
does.
out. I know a lot of
They're going to
choirs
find a
that-
paper that he wrote when he was 21 years old in college that had different political stances because everyone's political stances evolve as they mature.
So you think that the writings that he's had should allow the president to escape the law? The president's
this is
above
not
the
about
law.
the president.
Ron.
This is about selection of a Supreme Court justice.
That's going to make a decision that's going to determine the future of
That
the
may
presidency.
make a
Ron,
decision.
many constitutionalists already feel that the president cannot be tried while he's sitting in office.
So he's above the law.
No, he's not.
But that's
He's
not
not?
what this topic is about. Let's
Well,
Well,
not
most
talk
certainly
about-
is. He wants
It
a
is
favorable
not.
candidate. Come on,
He
Jim.
wants. Why does he want? Do you think he really thinks in his heart of hearts that they're going to find anything? If he did,
Why is he fighting? Why won't he talk? Why is he? The
why
only
would
reason
he
he
talk?
does- the
Why
only
would he
rea-
talk?
Because he'll be caught for perjury. That's why.
Oh my goodness! You know this. He
Blame
could-
Bill Clinton on everything, but do nothing for Trump. He never had to tell the truth because he's never raised the right hand.
This guy could have submitted
On the witch hunt.
This guy could have submitted.
Yeah, which
Sister
problem did he create
Teresa.
this day or that day?
This guy could have submitted Mother Teresa as a candidate, and the Democrats would hate it.
That's not true.
That is a
It-
fact.
That
it
is
is.
not true. I
Here's-
totally agree.
let's-
I am not a
He
leftist.
could have put. He
I
could
didn't
have
say
put
you were.
Garland
I
forward,
am not suggesting you are.
and they would have opposed Garland.
I don't think they would.
You
they
know,
would
when,
have.
when
think they
George
would.
When George Bush nominated Roberts, I heard that was the worst thing ever. When who was the lady that worked in the Obama administration that that's on the bench?
Sotomayor.
So, yeah, exactly. The Republican said that's the rate. Have you seen out of either there? In fact, Roberts came out in favor of things related to
Obamacare.
And Sotomayor has been, in my opinion, a reasonable jurist. Would you agree?
Yes.
And Sotomayor
So,
actually hired
is it
Kavanaugh.
possible, Ron? Is it possible that some of this is all hype?
In what way?
Just like I said.
I'm telling you, I will not back off from it. I'm not a leftist. Trump is going to pick the guy that's going to make the decision in the Supreme Court that allows him to continue doing what he did, what he's doing.
All right, so let's move this discussion on, and we're out of time, but we're going to take some more time. Let's move this discussion on to another topic, and we talk about the way we elect people and the fact that that they say it's antiquated, it's arcane that we do this rather than having a popular vote, right? But let's think about this one. There's 100 votes in the Senate, right?
Yes.
2 votes from each state. So California, who has a population of 308 million people, gets as much say in this process as the state of Wyoming that has 563,000. Is that a problem?
No.
No.
Why not?
Because that's the way the Constitution was written.
Okay. Well, the Constitution was
2
written.
senators per state.
The Constitution was written not to have the
But how
popular
about
vote
in
either.
Congress? You're not talking about it in the House side.
But-
where
but
they-
it's a-
But
it's
the,
a yin and
Senate,
yang.
but the Senate is the one that does these confirmations.
But what would be even better on the Senate side is if the state houses, as it was formerly proposed and done up until, I believe, the late 1800s, they would put forward senators. Rather than have it come from a vote of the citizens, let the state legislature put forward senators to Congress. I think that would be more representative of the state. Now, in Maryland, that's guaranteed that you're going to have 2 Democratic senators. But
Which we have
Jake
anyway.
Which we
Glenn
have
Bell
any-
wasn't. Jake Glenn Bell was United States Senator. He was Republican.
But with having it,
Yeah.
I think that would be more. And if we wanted to go back to what the Constitution originally was drafted as, that would be an ideal tweak that you can make.
Yeah, but you go back to the way the original Constitution was written. Women couldn't vote. Blacks couldn't vote. So I mean, come on now.
Well, there's certain things that we needed to evolve on.
Right.
Okay, and we have.
And there are things that we still need to evolve on, and I'm going to take the last word on that. Coming up next, if you're planning to take an Allegiant flight coming up, you may have an issue because there's a potential strike looming. We'll have that report in 3 minutes. Stay with us.